Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Kennedy.
Here.
Councilor Leahy.
Here.
Councilor Laurie.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Norton.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda.
Excuse me,
Yes, Councilor Mercia.
I have a few moments of silences, please.
Councilor Mercia.
I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for George Vieira, beloved husband of Irene Vieira for the past 65 years. Mr. Vieira was a lifelong resident and was educated in the Lowell schools. He served in the United States Army during World War II as a staff sergeant in the 150th Combat Engineer Battalion, receiving the Bronze Star, and always attended reunions honoring his military service. His own mother, Maria, was a Gold Star mother when his father was killed serving his country, and his brother John died in World War II serving his country as well. In his younger years, Mr. Vieira loved bowling and was a member of 2 leagues. He was a member of the Knickerbocker Club and the Portuguese American Veterans. In his later years, he was a volunteer for the Salvation Army and the Smith-Baker Center Council on Aging. For most of his life, he was a communicant of the Immaculate Conception Church. In addition to his beloved wife, Irene, he is survived by 4 children and his grandchildren. We offer our sympathy to his family, relatives, and many friends. He was a credit to the Portuguese community, and he will be truly missed. I would also like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Patrick Mogan, father of the Lowell National Park, former superintendent of schools, brother of Sam Pollard, brother-in-law of Sam Pollard, lifelong resident of Clark Road. He came to Lowell at a young age, and he was a teacher in the 1950s. Pat Mogan had a vision of an urban national park. Pat Mogan's life was about turning negatives to assets. Bricks and mortar were the stage settings, according to Pat. Pat and his wife, Mary Mogan, were educators and connectors at heart, and Pat Mogan never gave up. He was a credit to the city, lifelong member, and devoted his life to the city of Lowell. We truly miss him. And I also feel that a moment of silence in darkened chamber should be in order for the 20 children and the 6 adults killed in the Sandy Hook Elementary School in that horrific massacre in Newtown, Connecticut. Our hearts were broken when we heard the news. We share with the world the pain that was suffered. Our prayers and thoughts are with the families and their relatives and many friends. And lastly, quite recently, I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Tommy Byrne, a person that loved politics and really was a friend to all, an advisor to many, and he'll be truly missed. His daughter is a Lowell police officer in Lowell, and his son, John, is a police officer in Westford, and he leaves a son, Ian, and a brand new granddaughter, Lena Faye. So I just like to offer those up. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you please rise in a moment of silence in darkened chambers? The first item was put on in error. Obviously, this was done last week. So we'll move to the second item. The city clerk, minutes of the finance subcommittee, December 4th. Minutes of the special meeting, December 11th. And minutes of the city council meeting, December 11th for acceptance.
Move to
Move for
accept.
approval by Council Laurie, second by Council Mendoza. Any discussion? Council
Yes.
Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that last Tuesday, we came from the executive session into the council chamber, and we voted to give the contract. Some voted not to, but the majority rules, and we gave a contract to Cheryl Wright. And at that time, we did our vote, and we adjourned and left. And I really think that it is an honor for me. I don't know about my colleagues, I can only speak for myself. And the very last thing that Tommy told me was that I should have explained why I do what I do, and I think he's absolutely right, that I just wanted to tell the public why I supported the contract. I don't think that it's wise for me to make a decision and not give a reason for it, and so at this time, I would just like to say that I did support the contract for Cheryl Wright. We did meet in an executive session, and it wasn't just a give and no take. I believe that contract negotiations are a give and take, and that's just what we did. We could have taken more, but I think that we took quite a bit. I know that the paper made it seem like we gave the store away. I personally don't think that we did. I will tell you that I can only vote yes or no the way that I view the person. And I saw Cheryl for the past term as a person that was professional, that did an outstanding job, that balanced the books and sent the money into the appropriate funds. I think that she had her work cut out for her when she assumed that position of auditor. I think that she corrected a lot of mistakes that were there. I felt that I had asked in the executive session if we didn't give her a contract, would she stay? And the answer we got back was no, she wouldn't stay. Now, if we didn't come to terms with the contract by the end of December, it would have been null and void. We could have either continued it on, or we could have severed our ties. I wasn't one to want to do that because I felt that we could have advertised and went out for somebody else, but I'm not a gambler. I believe that what we have in place was good for the city. Could we have gotten someone better? I don't know that, but I didn't want to find that out because I knew what I had in place was good. We put in a clause, an escape clause. In other words, if she leaves to go to, let's say, Andover for more money, she pays a penalty. It's a penalty clause. That was never in there before. We took away from her. We took her 4 months severance. And other departments, it's a week per year. A week per year would have been, she's going on her 7th year, so technically she could have had 7 weeks, but she had 16 weeks. We thought that was quite excessive. We took away from her. We gave her 10 and we capped it. At the end of her contract, she'll be there anyway. This cost of living increase that she will get in January, that we gave her a step for taking away. We took away weeks of severance and we gave her that step, which she's entitled to it anyway. We didn't have to give it to her, but I'm thinking we took, so I gave. The cost of living increase that she'll probably get in July, that is an automatic. That's per the ordinance. That's not something we voted on in executive session, so we didn't give the store away. I felt that this person is deserving of what I gave. This was a give and take situation, and she gave us back, and we gave her something. And I'm very satisfied with what I did. I feel I did the right thing. Some didn't support that. That's their opinion. That's what's great about this council. We can support it or not support it. I think what we had in front of us was give and take, and I think she does a tremendous job. She's part of a team here. Everything isn't her fault. We get chief financial officer, we have a treasurer, we have an auditor. They supposedly work together. If she sees something wrong, I know firsthand she says, no, that's not right. It has to be done this way. She doesn't sweep things under the rug. I know. And every time I've called and asked a question, I got an answer. When I was looking for information, I always got it. So I can only give back what happens to me, and I see the city as a whole is financially stable, and I supported my decision, and I wanted the public to know that. That's all I have to say, and my colleagues can say why they voted. Would I have liked them to take more? Yes, absolutely, but it's a give and take, and you can't bleed, and I didn't want to do that, but I'm happy with what I did. Thank you.
Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to follow up on Councilor Mercius, yeah, there's always the talk of whether one supports a contract or not, or some may say lucrative, the contracts. They're only lucrative if you allow them to be. I think contracts should be give and take. I concur with Councilor Mercia. The auditor, if she leaves on her own, it's $15,000, I believe. If she leaves under circumstances, it goes from 16 weeks to 10, and I think that was a lot to really ask, but she gave. We just had a subcommittee meeting not too long ago, or actually a regular meeting with the auditor, and her review was good. I had called for the minutes from prior meetings before I came on the council. It always was, she was doing a great job. As Councilor Mercia says, if she was in the middle of a contract, that 2.5% would have been there, and she'd just come off a review, that's fine, and the rest is ordinances. So, I'm glad we have the auditor. I want to congratulate Cheryl. I think she does a great job, and I'm glad she's here. I'm glad we protected ourselves. In many situations, if the manager leaves and he takes the team with him, he may take the auditor. Not that I know of the manager leaving, but it's the last meeting of the year. Let's get the rumors going, and we'll look at it that way. But I want to congratulate Cheryl Wright. I think she does an outstanding job. I was happy to support the contract, and it was give and take, and I'm glad we do. As Councilor Mercer says, I concur. I'm glad we were able to keep her here. Thank you.
Anyone else on the acceptance of the minutes? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have the city auditor, communication for the November and December grants. Any discussion? Councilman Mendonça.
Just accept communication put on file, then. Thank you for keeping us up to date on these.
Motion to accept and place on file by Councilman Mendonça, seconded by Councilor Noon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have the city manager, communications from city manager, responses to city council motions and requests. Any discussion? Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Laurie.
If we could suspend the rules.
For what purpose?
To ask the manager about the new contract with the parking garages with the city. If we could do that in the suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Laurie, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank my fellow councils. The past couple of days downtown, I've been in and out of downtown area, and it's come to my attention, I guess there's a new company coming in to run the garages, and we're going to change the contract. I guess it was signed today. It's brand new, so that's the reason why we haven't heard much. The concern from some of the people I've talked to downtown is who's the company, what changes. I even had someone ask, are we going to be paying more? But that's a negotiated rate with the city. Just to clear the air a little bit, that was the only reason for the question. If the manager wants to.
Sure. Let me
And the other thing is, we're not going to be here for 2 weeks. So the contract's going to start, and we're not going to be around for the next couple of weeks. So
As the council knows, we recently went out to bid for 3 different contracts related to our parking operation, and we finalized the contracts just today, and we're actually in the midst of putting together a report that would be sent to the council and getting information out to the public. But if I could just briefly go through what we've done. We will be changing companies on January 1st from Central Parking. Central was acquired by another company over the last several months, and they did put in a bid, but it was about $1 million more than the low bid, which was Republic. And that's over a 3-year period of time. The total 3-year cost for Republic will be just under $3.1 million, $981,000 in the first year, going up to $1,027,000 the next, and $1,074,000 the next. The next highest bid was a company called ProPark, which was about roughly $300,000 more over the 3 years. On top of that, though, the way this was put out, this was put out under a request for proposals. It's a fixed fee, but we also have certain criteria that we looked at in evaluating the companies, and it's done by 2 different groups of people. Obviously, the numbers are easy enough to just look at, but we have a separate group that doesn't look at the numbers. They look at the quality and qualifications. And Republic was, in fact, the choice of the other committee that looked at this as well. They have a number of municipal contracts throughout the country. In this area, they have Worcester, Cambridge, and Springfield, so the three of the larger communities here in the Commonwealth, along with Lowell. They also have Syracuse, Hartford, Denver, Tacoma, Baltimore, and as I say, many more nationally. So we think it's a very good contract for us. They will be assuming the responsibility for the operation and maintenance of all the public parking facilities, including the parking stalls, the aisles, the surrounding sidewalk surface areas, the entrances, exits, pedestrian entrances, exits, fencing, walls, guardrails, parking booths, parking equipment, lighting, landscapes, maintenance of all of them, and maintaining the carts that are used in the operation of the parking as well. We did do this differently this year. You may recall that Central's contract was set up such that everything was a pass-through. Every bill that was paid in the parking operation went through Central and went through a sort of a markup process. In this new setup, we're responsible for telecommunications, internet, elevator repairs, electricity, and heat. And all capital procurement, so they won't be that markup that goes through. So we think that this will save us probably about $100,000 a year, thereabouts, and so we're very pleased with the results of that. And it also, we think, with the change in the way it's set up, it will give us the opportunity to find other savings as well. As far as the employees of Central, they're all being, Republic is talking to them. It will be a seamless transition. People will not see any change really, other than the people's uniforms will say Republic as opposed to Central Parking. We also bid out the security, and the low bidder on security, this was a straight bid, was U.S. Security. They were in fact the company that was utilized by the city before. As I say, with the low bidder, the next highest bidder was, or the next lowest bidder was about $30,000 more over the 3 years. So that is a savings for us as well, and that will just be, as I say, straight bid. And then we have the parking meter services. We did separate this from the parking operation or the parking garages, but again, it was a Republic. This time by again, a sizable amount. Over the 3 years, it's $184,000 versus $356,000. So they will be handling the parking meter services for the city and doing the necessary collections, and then working with our people to reconcile all the receipts. So, but again, it's a pretty seamless transition, but it will save the city some money, and we're pleased with the results. And as council stated, the fees will not change. That's all. Those are all set by the city, not by the vendor.
Now, the security outfit, that's still 24 hours.
Correct.
So for their monthly fee, they get 24-hour security in the garages, and that's great. Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager, could we get copies of those contracts at some point over the next
Sure.
couple of weeks? And in the report that you indicated that you would send, would you address safeguards that you put in this time that weren't there the last time are you still gonna have that same software system and that kiosk?
Right, those kiosks are owned by the city, the same software system is
Yeah.
owned by that's all owned by the city, and so
Right.
we will get that, right.
So we must have made some changes to make sure that we wouldn't have problems in the future, right?
It's really the same report that was provided to the council back in the summer when Mr. Herbert was here. All of that remains in place, all those safeguards that were included within that.
Okay, but you recall that one of the problems that we had last summer was, or maybe back in the spring, was that we found that although we were training people to use the software, nobody was using the software.
That's correct, and that's been changed. Those reports are issued, and in fact, they're turned in with the reports are turned in with the cash receipts that go to the treasurer's office.
Okay, and what assurances do we have that people are familiar with the software? I mean, how do we know that? Are we doing anything to make sure of that? In other words, my recollection was that earlier this year, we trained everybody to use the software, and then nobody used it, and then we retrained them again, and nobody used it.
That
And
went
so-
back about 3 years ago that was the case. It was back in November of last year that so it's been over a year now that we've been utilizing that software effectively. And that's how it was uncovered, the theft was uncovered.
I understand that, but, so we are using the software?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
But we thought we were using the software before. I guess my question is, how can we be sure that we're gonna use the software in the future? In other words, if I asked you 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, or last year, are we using the software, you would've said, yeah, we're using the software, everybody's
Correct.
trained using the software. But in fact, we weren't using the software.
That's correct. But now we are using the software because, in fact, the reports that are generated through the software are turned into the treasurer's office.
Okay, and that, they weren't before?
That's correct.
Okay.
Councilor Laurie.
So if they basically keep the same employee who was doing the software, we have our own people there who generate the reports to the treasurers?
If you recall, under the restructuring or the changes that we put in place, the reports are actually being generated by a city employee.
Right.
So-
So we do that, and it goes to the auditor and treasurer.
Yep, so the reports are generated by us, so we can see what should be coming out, and then we can see the reports that come out of the bank statements to see what the vendor is in fact turning in, and they should match up. And if they don't match up, then we can determine why they don't match up, and in fact, that does happen, but we catch it immediately now. So for instance, a couple weeks ago, there was a kiosk that was showing a different number than, and what it turned out, there was some mechanical issues that just needed to be fixed. Those were fixed, and within a day, we were back on target with that, and the money was all there.
I want to thank you for the report. I know it was kind of quick. We signed it today. As I said, I've been downtown the past couple of days, and these are questions I'm getting hit with. We're going to be off for the next 2 weeks, and I thought it would be good if we could get this in, at least put it out there about the changes. The fees aren't going to change. The company may change, but the fees and the security is going to be the same. And I'd like to thank the mayor and my fellow councilors for allowing the suspension of the rules. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through to the manager, is the contract signed, or we're still working it out, or it's signed?
It's signed.
Okay. My question was just more, you said that the company's in charge of maintenance?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a difference between maintenance and upkeep? Are they
They're the same.
required to, but in this 3-year period, if, say, they didn't have to change something out, and the bid costs kind of includes regular maintenance, and then the 4th year, all of a sudden we have to do renovation work maybe? Is that considered in the contract as far as, I mean, you know, they have to maintain, but are there replacement costs that
Not by the company,
are no?
no.
Who does, is that the
That would be
city?
by the city.
Okay, so they're just,
Yeah, they're just doing general maintenance, not actually,
Is it as
minor,
needed, or is
minor repairs, but certainly not a major type of repair that would require, that we would consider a renovation.
all right. But they would maintain as far as, like, we wouldn't find out the fourth year that they weren't maintaining something, and then it's a big expense to us, right?
No, and in fact, we would, no.
Okay, I just want to double check. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the communications? Motion to accept and place on file by Council Lowry, seconded by Council Mendoza. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have an order of the 60-day trial for Pine Street. Motion to waive the full rating by Council Mendoza, seconded by Council Lowry. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Reading by title in City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. It's the wish of the council. Move to approve by Councilman Martin, second by Council Lowry. Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Lowry.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendoza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Norton.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Next, we have a vote. Excuse me. Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just had a quick question, probably through you to the manager. When these come out with these orders, could we, like, just reading this, unless you drove by, you wouldn't know, you know, what it's for or what it's, just a little bit more information, is there allowed to be on there? I mean, I just voted for it, but is it a store, or is it, why are we voting on this? Is it
Manager.
for a store, is there a company, or is it for?
Oftentimes, it's a motion that's brought in, and in this particular case, I'm not up to speed on exactly what the issue was here. We can have the traffic engineer include a memo with this, I guess, in the future.
All right, yeah,
too.
sorry about that.
Usually there is a memo that attaches to this, or there's a motion that's been filed. Offhand, I'm not sure what the,
Usually I get by, but I couldn't get by just to check it out, but, all right, yeah, on the next one, if we could just have a quick memo with it,
Sure.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the vote to authorize the manager to execute memorandum of understanding for Unit C, July 1st, 2010 through June 30th, 2012. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Lowry. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Reading by title in City Council vote. Authorizing the City Council to ratify and approve the execution by the City Manager of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Lowell and MVA Unit C covering the period of July 1st, 2010 through June 30th, 2012. That's the wish of the council. Councilor Martin.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Lowry. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Lowry.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendoza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Norton.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to apply, accept, expend a grant of $2,000 from the DEP regarding recycling. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Mendoza, second by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Reading by title. In City Council vote. Authorizing the city manager to apply for, accept, and expend funds in the form of a grant from the Department of Environmental Protection on behalf of the City of Lowell for use in the City of Lowell Recycling Program, administered through the Department of Public Works. What's the wish of the council?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilor Mendoza, second by Councilor Noon. Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Lowry.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendoza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Norton.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next, we have from the Wire Inspector report of National Grid for Marginal Street, install a new gas main. Entertain a motion to accept and adopt the accompanying order by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Mendoza. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Martin.
There are 2 listed on the agenda, but actually 3 in the packet. One for Marginal Street, one for Mort Avenue, and one for 945 Middlesex Street, so,
No, that's a petition. That's for a
that's a-
public
okay.
hearing.
all right, sorry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, wire inspector report. Report of National Grid for Mort Avenue, new pole location. Entertain a motion to accept and adopt the accompanying order.
So moved.
So moved by Counsel Kennedy, seconded by Counsel Mendonça. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have general petitions. Miscellaneous for Robert W. Begal of Lowell, Massachusetts, requests a handicap parking sign. Entertain a motion to refer to the traffic engineer. So moved by Counsel Laurie, seconded by Counsel Mercia. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have miscellaneous. Francis Farah of Lowell, Massachusetts, requests a handicap parking sign. Entertain a motion to refer to the traffic engineer by Counsel Laurie, seconded by Counsel Kennedy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have utility petitions. Pole location for National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated requests to set one new pole at 945 Middlesex Street. Refer to a public hearing on January 8th, 2012 at 7 p.m. 2013, excuse me. So moved by Counsel Mendonça, seconded by Counsel Martin. Counsel Leahy?
I had a question, but not on this,
Okay.
related, but.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Counsel Leahy?
Thank you. Through you, the city manager, just any progress on pole removal lately? The ones over on Boynton Street now is off its blocks and pushed over, so the kids are playing with it now because it's connected at the top maybe, but it's definitely, they're kicking the poles out off the bottom and they're picking it up and moving it. So somebody's trying to see how strong they are, but you know, that's what's gonna happen. They don't take these out, and there's numerous on Bridge Street, so.
We've been in contact with both National Grid and Verizon. The pole you describe, I believe, is a Verizon responsibility and type of removal. They assure us that those, if the blocks do come loose, that the poles themselves are tied to the top. We have an updated, they're working on fine-tuning their pole management report, and are hoping to have them in, inviting them in for a January meeting to provide a bit more explanation on all of their numbers and how they come about and where they are. They've told us that they've gone down in terms of the number of poles, both of them. I believe Verizon, we have about 143 left that are their responsibility, and assured us that they were putting resources to do that. But we're targeting January meeting to have them in and talk about that.
Okay. Could Verizon at least take the one out on Boynton Street? We do have a street sign on it, but other than that, it's, if whoever goes by and takes a look at it, you'll see that kids are picking it up and trying to play around with it, so.
I believe they fixed the one on Bridge Street that was a similar issue.
Yeah, they
now.
took that one away, thank you.
Okay, we'll bring this one up
They
to
left the rock there, but, you know, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have motions. Counsel Elliott requests the Finance Subcommittee review Chapter 15 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Personnel. Seconded by Counsel Kennedy. Counsel Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The ordinance I reference that's currently in place for department heads essentially provides automatic pay increase on an annual basis every year. And, you know, when we go through the budget, we look at what the salary differences are, and so between step increases and then cost of living adjustments, there are significant raises that that department heads receive. So I think we need to take a look at this particular ordinance, and in specific section, or Chapter 15, Section 76, and, you know, come up with a plan, come up with a better plan that puts some controls in place, that puts some oversight in place, and levels the playing field. I mean, all other unions in the city have to negotiate for pay raises, and I think that they should have to do the same. So that's the the crux of the motion, send it to the Finance Subcommittee, take a look at, how we can tighten this ordinance up, and that's essentially it, so, thank you.
Council Lowry and then Council Kennedy.
I totally concur with Councilor Elliott. As a matter of fact, I had called the clerk's office, I was going to bring in the same, and Councilor Elliott had already been on top of it. And just to concur with Councilor Elliott again, we negotiate with the unions on different pay raises, different years, and a lot of it has to do with the economy. And this was just a flat raise, and I think it's really something we have to look at as we go on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to concur. I think this is a very good motion, and I think we should take a look at this ordinance. What's come to the attention of the council in recent weeks is that there have been years when the fiscal picture has been bleak in the city when we've just ignored the ordinance, which is really not the solution. And so I think it's good to take a look at the whole thing and when we should do it, when we shouldn't do it, and also long range, just what is going to be the fiscal impact for the city. Thanks.
Sure. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I pretty much agree with what's been said. The ordinance does call for annual increases, and it hasn't always been the case. Usually the years that unions have foregone raises, the department heads have foregone them too, yet this ordinance is out there and it calls for these raises, and as you try and look back historically, you don't always get an accurate picture. The grid is confusing. You don't really know who's where on the grid and who's entitled to a step increase. I don't think everyone's entitled to a step increase every year, and so this could benefit from some clarity, and I think it's worth a relook.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. I just had a follow-up question or request, if I could amend my motion. If we could have the auditor provide the number of step raises that have been given each year at this meeting. I mean, I don't want to have to go back 10 years, but maybe just the last 5 years. That was the first one. And the second one, I'd also be interested to see the number of employees who have received a tier upgrade, because a tier upgrade is an 18% increase between tiers. So I think it'd be helpful, if any have received, that would be good information to know.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
No, just from my perspective, if I could just, I think it's a review of this ordinance is long overdue. I think personnel systems need to be reviewed on a regular basis, and I did want to echo what a couple of the councilors said, that the department head. This doesn't just apply to department heads too. This applies to all of the non-union personnel. There's a number of people that work for the city that are not part of a union, and they don't have the same protections as the union members do. They don't have negotiated raises. They also don't have anything built in that's required. That this is from time to time this ordinance has not been or the step increases or the cost of living has not been put in place. Sometimes both, and that's certainly been the case over the last several years. But I do think a comprehensive review of the city's personnel ordinance is appropriate. And I think Councilor Elliott, his motion is makes a lot of sense. I do think it should be done in a comprehensive way, though, and hopefully we can work with the council on looking at that as we compete for employees, and we look at the one group of employees versus another employees. We want to make sure that there's some level of fairness and that there is some market realism to. There are a number of positions that fall on either side of that equation, but we look forward to working with the council on this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next motion by Councilor Martin. Request the city manager develop procedures for the final payoffs with the treasurer and water department and report on same to the city council.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason for this motion is I continue to get complaints about the treasurer's office and the ability to get information about bills due. Final payments at closings in particular. Most of the complaints come from lawyers, and I suppose it's easy to say, well, it's easy to ignore complaints from a bunch of lawyers, but really this has an impact on the public. You know, if a lawyer has to postpone a closing for a day or two because he can't get information about a final payoff, the lawyer really doesn't care. He's going to be there the next day, the day after that, the day after that. But the person who's closing is affected, you know, sometimes dramatically, rescheduling movers, interest rates on loans. There are a lot of consequences to this. And people do need to plan, and people try to plan. But, you know, in the real estate closing business these days, sometimes you'll wait 6 months for a short sale approval from a lender and get notice that you have to close within 3 days. The information that you planned for is out of date. And it's been difficult in Lowell getting responses from the treasurer's office. Some of the comments have been made to me, Lowell used to be the best office that we dealt with in this area, and now it's the worst. And I'm embarrassed by that. And I think, you know, particularly the treasurer's office, I think there was some personnel issues with the water department that I think have been addressed. And, you know, I don't think the problem is the frontline personnel in these offices. When I've dealt with those offices, when you get people, they are helpful generally, but I think there are policies for some reason that, you know, we're not forthcoming with information in a way we were in the past. And it's creating problems, and we're not as good or efficient as surrounding towns are on this question. So I think if there are policies in place that are preventing this, I'd like to know what they are, and I think the council should have be aware of them. And you know, I guess the last point I wanted to make on this is, you know, these are usually in transactions where we're collecting money for the city, and so money's coming in. I did think when we had the presentation about the online system that might make some of these complaints go away, but the online system really isn't designed for this situation. It's designed to help you get at your own account, not somebody else's account. And there are ways you can try to game the system a little bit and still get information, but you shouldn't have to do that. So, and it only will give you current information anyway if it's not your account. So I don't think, you know, that's the answer. Maybe there's another process on the online system that could be made available, but this is a problem that has persisted for some time, and I think needs to be corrected.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next motion by Councilor Mercier, request the city manager and proper department correct the alarm fee and fine situation. Seconded by Councilor Noon. Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. I'm bringing this motion forward because I'm a little bit frustrated because I too am getting a lot of calls, and I feel that the situation has not been alleviated or corrected. And I'm going to give you one scenario, but I heard this same story quite a number of times. They called me up, but let's just say one call called me up, but this has been like 5. And the lady said, the city of Lowell contracted out with a company, an alarm company, and they have a letterhead with a number, so the people are calling this number to straighten this out. The first time they called, they were told, well, I'm sorry, you'll have to pay that fine. Well, they said, no, I heard on the council floor that it'll be corrected. Well, we'll check into it. Give us some time. They called back again, waited a few days, and they got it corrected. The lady said, yes, it's corrected. And also, you seem like you're over 65. Are you over 65? Yes. Well, could you give us some information to prove that? Like, take a copy of your license and send it to us. So the lady sent it over. She called back in a few days to say, did you get the letter? Is it corrected? The company said, no, we never received your information through the mail. So the lady said, well, would you want me to fax it? So the lady said, sure, why don't you fax it? So the people don't have a fax in their home. I don't have a fax. So the lady went to a company to pay to have the information faxed there, because when you're over 65, they waive the fee. So and this is only, I'm telling you once, but this happened to be many calls. No, I'm sorry, we didn't get your fax. So now they didn't get the letter through the mail. They didn't get the fax of the information. So she said, well, I'll come over there. I'll give you the information in person. Where are you located? She says, oh, no, you're not coming here. We're in Texas. So, I mean, I'm frustrated for the people. They can't seem to get anything right. I don't know what's going on. And this has been a number of calls with the same thing. Do they know what's going on? That's what I want to know. Can we straighten it out once and for all? I'm not upset with the number of calls I got. I'm upset with the frustration that I felt that they were feeling. If we can just straighten this out once and for all, I would appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm surprised we don't have a company nearby and we got to deal with Texas, but be that as it may.
Mr. Manager?
They were the only company that actually bid on it. This is their specialty, and this is that they do for a number of municipalities across the country, and they sort of a niche market. We've been working to straighten it out. Most of this has been straightened out. I think the woman you're speaking of actually came to my office today, and we're trying to work with her. But if any issues arise like this, just contact my office, and we'll kind of guide people through that.
Councilor Laurie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The other question I have, and I've had a few people ask me this, if I pulled a permit to put a fire alarm or a burglar alarm in my house, but it's not tied in with the city, it just goes off, am I charged for that?
If it's a false alarm?
No. With the fee for this fire fee that we pay, if I have an alarm that's not set up with the city, it just goes off, why would I be paying that fee?
Any burglar alarm is that you have a service for, you have to register with the city. That's an ordinance that was put in place in the spring of 2006.
Now, I have an alarm, and I understand why we passed this ordinance. I have a fire alarm, and it goes down, and it's false, and they have to handle it. But if I have an alarm at my house that just goes off at the house.
Oh, in that case, no. Strangely enough, and that's something that does not. It's one that's connected to somewhere that calls us. If it's just an alarm that goes off,
I had someone tell me that they have to pay the fee, and I said, well, check it out. I says, when we passed the ordinance, I might have missed it, but as far as I know, it's only the people who were set into the fire department.
And this is more the police. This is the burglar alarms.
Right. No, this was a fire alarm. And I said, well, maybe where you pulled the permit, there was a problem with the paperwork. But if someone has a burglar or fire alarm, and it's not set in with the city,
it's just an alarm,
they shouldn't be paying that fee then monthly.
Well, that's one that...
I think that's one that get biased when we put the ordinance in.
I think we need to take a look at this whole ordinance anyway. We're just trying to implement the ordinance that was put in place in 2006, and it's been sitting out there, and I think we need to take a look at the whole thing and
my answer was,
that.
I believe if you had a burglar alarm or a fire alarm and it went off, they would charge you, I think it was $25 for false alarms for the call.
Right.
At one time. But the individual said to me, I have to pay the fee. And I said, well, I don't think you should be. And I says, if I voted on the ordinance, I made the mistake too.
Yeah, and you didn't, Counselor. This was over 6 years ago. It's almost 7 years ago that this was voted.
So that'd be good. We can review the ordinance, and I think it's a good time to look at it. Thank you.
Councilor New.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Managers, since the last meeting with regard to this company, the PNAM Corporation of Texas. Have you communicated with the company since the last council meeting about the waiver of that $300 penalty fee?
I actually communicated with the company before the council meeting. The city has been in touch. I haven't been in touch directly with the company since the last council meeting, but the waiver was done before the council meeting.
So the $300 waiver, penalty waiver, to all the
Correct.
the alarm owners in the
Correct.
city, commercial and non-commercial.
Correct.
Right, because I too frustrated because over the weekend I got a dozen of calls from people who were receiving penalties and indicate the same thing as Councilor Mercier indicated. I said, look, the last meeting the manager has told us that is already spoke to the company and to get this waive, and they said, well, you know what, I called them and they give me a runaround. So I'm glad that it's across the board, so that the next time I talk to them, I'll tell them that to be expected that you not have to pay that $300 be waived, and they all have to pay is that a monthly fee, which is $10, I believe.
Correct.
Per residential, right, and
Correct.
$15 for commercial.
I believe that's it, right?
Right. And that is going forward. Right?
Yeah, but we'll be in touch. We'll contact the company again tomorrow and see what the problem is with this, these bills, because they're not supposed to be including the $300. And as I say, I'd like to take a look at the whole ordinance.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council Leahy?
Thank you. Just one quick question. When we review the ordinance, are we still on landline and wireless? Does that, with the ordinance, or does that affect the ordinance at all, whether your alarm system is wireless or on a wire system?
No, it doesn't.
All right. Are we trying to get rid of the wire system in the city?
I think we're confusing
Hardwire.
I think we're confusing a few different things here. We're confusing the fire alarm system that we've talked about in the past that rings directly into the fire station. Those are on that's just on multifamily structures in the city, and that's by the state fire code that there has to be a connection, a direct connection. What we're talking about with the PMAM group is any alarm system that calls into or rings at a location, and then they call into the dispatch. That the council in 2006, March of 2006, put in place an ordinance that requires that all those alarms be registered with the city. And that's really, it's irrelevant to how it's done. They just ring out, whether it wirelessly, some sort of a wireless system in the house, or a hardwired or landline system that rings out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councilor Mercier?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager. Was there a forgiveness of a false alarm? Like, in other words, 2 false alarms and you didn't pay?
Correct.
Right?
I think it's 2. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed or voted? Next motion by Councilor Kennedy, request the city manager appoint or reappoint members to the following boards or commissions: the Auditorium Commission, the Library Board of Trustees, the Cool Board, Election Commission, Greater Lowell Workplace Investment Board, the Green Building Commission, the License Commission, the Lowell Civic Stadium Commission, the Animal Advisory Commission, the Scholarship Commission, and the Taxi Cab and Livery Commission. Second by Councilor Leahy. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is similar to several similar motions that I've filed throughout the year. I guess this probably will end up being the last motion for 2012, but basically what I did was I just went on to the city's website and took all of the boards and commissions that still had vacancies at this point. And as you can see from the motion and from the list, there's still quite a few vacancies to be filled, or appointments. In some cases, it's not a vacancy, it's just a person that's a holdover that should be appointed or replaced. And I had a discussion with the city clerk about this before I did it, and also with the city manager, and maybe the Lowell Civic Stadium Commission, which is on the list, is one which maybe could be abolished at this point, I guess. But that's something maybe we should look into as well, Mr. Manager. But anyways, I guess the point is, and the point of the motion is that it would be good to have all these boards and commissions filled with people that are not on holdover status. I think it gives, as I've said before, I think it gives board members a certain degree of independence that they don't have if they're on holdover status. And while I'm on the topic, let me just say that I think it would be a good idea if we could try to increase the amount of diversity that we have on the boards. And so anything that we can do to kind of get all those boards filled near the beginning of the year would be, I think, would be a step forward.
Mr. Manager.
Councilor, I agree completely on all points. And it has been something that we've been plugging away at and trying to get people. And as you and I discussed, there's not as many people that we went through a period where we had a number of people that wanted to be appointed to boards and commissions, and that has sort of died down after a period of time. We're trying to get more people in, and we want them to be the right fit, not just necessarily because they applied. We're also trying to give everyone an opportunity when they do apply for a meeting. They go through an interview process with me. So that becomes somewhat time-consuming to work it into the schedule, our schedule, my schedule, their schedule, the time to do it. And we are looking for diversity, which then adds another layer of complexity. But I'm very proud of the fact that we're in fact required to submit a report to the federal government on our, I believe it's the federal government, on our boards and commissions. And diversity during the last 5 years has jumped tremendously with the appointments that have been made. So I'm very proud of that because it has been a goal of mine to do that. So we are plugging away to get these. I do have, on a number of these, I do have people that are close to being appointed in the Auditorium Commission. I actually have someone for a couple people for the Board of Trustees. I just appointed someone. I've got another one to fill. The Cool Board, I'm meeting with the Cool Board Chairman in the next couple of weeks to go over some issues there. Election Commission, as you know, we've been going through a few issues there that we're trying to get at. The Greater Lowell Workplace Investment Board, I know it shows up on our website as a city board, but it's not, in fact, a city board. It's a state board, so that should really be taken off of that. There is no, that goes outside of city government. The Green Building Commission, we do have a vacancy that we're trying to fill on that. The License Commission, I have a couple of people that are in the works there that I've been interviewing and looking for the right fit. The Civic Stadium Commission is the old Arena Commission. The Chancellor and I, the Chancellor has 3 appointments and the manager has 3 appointments. We've having discussions about this off and on. It hasn't really met in some time once the arena was sold. Because that's where its primary purpose was. Animal Advisory Committee, as you know, we're going through a rewrite of the ordinance, and we've been kind of watching that, but we have a couple of people that are interested in filling a couple of slots there, hopefully be able to get that one on. Scholarship Committee doesn't exist any longer, so we should really get rid of that one. And the Taxi Cab Livery Commission is the great challenge. We can't seem to find anyone that wants to serve on that one. So, we have a couple of members there that would love to get off, but we can't get anyone to serve on that one. Okay. So,
could I ask, how is the pool of resumes that you have for these boards? Is it, I mean, this is a televised meeting, so is this might be an opportunity to call out to people who are interested in serving in some capacity to send in their resume?
Absolutely.
Is that something that,
absolutely. Just send it in to, by email, by mail, dropping it off. Happy if they just want to put a call in and talk to me about it. We'd be happy to talk to people about it. We're always looking for people that want to serve, either on any of these boards or some of the others. Actually, you missed a couple that we have some vacancies on the Parks Commission right now, but we're looking for the right people for that as well.
okay.
And again, as we're out there, and I can be happy to walk you into my office and show you the enormous whiteboard with all of it spelled out. It's like I'm involved in a elaborate military campaign.
I'm sure it's there, Mr. Manager.
It's the highest priority right now for me, Councilor.
Councilman Mendoza.
On a related matter, we voted to expand the License Commission, and I was wondering if the city manager in the new year, on an update to maybe this motion, could give us a status of where that stands.
I think that's been submitted to the legislature and waiting for state legislative action.
That's for next year, right? Submitted for next year?
Yeah,
Mr. Clerk?
For 2013?
I submitted it when it was voted on. I sent it down to the legislature, and I don't know if they earmarked it for, it'll be for 2013, because at the time, I don't think the 2012
Yeah.
had passed.
Yeah, okay.
Counsel Elliott?
This is a good motion. So, Mr. Manager, I'm wondering if we can post those positions open positions on, because if you do go to the city's website, there's actually a page that says, please submit your resume, but it doesn't have, and I know it's going to take a little bit of work to keep it updated, but I think if people knew what was available, they may be more inclined to submit an application, so just a thought.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Entertained motion to adjourn.
I'd like to move, we adjourn, and I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
So moved by Counsel Kennedy, seconded by Counsel Lowry. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Happy holidays.